Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Andrew Yang, Donald Trump, Conan the dog, and the Hyperborean policy. All right, let's talk about this. All right, who is Conan the dog? So, Conan the dog is a Belgian Malinois. All right, he is a dog, but more specifically, he is a Delta Force U.S. military working dog. He is hecka cool, right? Let's get into this. Conan participated in the recent Berisha raid. Okay, during that raid on the other side of the world, Conan was injured. He was electrically shocked by live wires that he encountered during the Berisha raid. Right, pretty incredible, right? Now, Conan the dog, a Delta Force military working dog, he's actually named after Conan O'Brien, but he actually lives the values of Conan the Barbarian. Courage in combat, bravery in battle, right? So he's an incredibly important dog, right? And along with that comes presidential visits. So Conan the dog just visited President Donald Trump, right? So Conan the dog went to the White House, right? And the reason why is this dog was actually injured in performing U.S. military actions, and really high end important ones that the president cares about, right? So Conan the dog, he's an important member of Delta Force, of the Delta Force Special Ops team, right? And it's really critical. It's pretty amazing, right? So one of the things that's been talked about recently, specifically, is there's been a lot of talk about Conan the dog, and specifically, he was invited to the White House. The president with his wife. I couldn't. I watched the. I actually watched this press briefing, this media event, right, that Donald Trump did, which is kind of important. I watch virtually nothing that Donald Trump does for the media because it's almost always so horribly terrible. Like, he does all these, like, who takes the time to watch his nonsense question and answers while his helicopter's whirring around? It's ridiculous, right? But this one, he actually, he had a place where there was some quiet. He actually interacted with the dog, and his wife Melania was there. I was pretty amazed by this, right? Because Donald Trump, he is our president, right? He is my president, right? I'm going to say that, right? So, and the reason why is every U.S. president is my president. And that's the way it is. And one of the reasons why I'm so incredibly dialed in on Andrew Yang is I really feel that Andrew Yang has the ability and the desire to restore the role of the presidency. Okay, we as Democrats, right? We as members of the Democrat Party, right? We want our candidate to win, right? But as Americans, we need the role of U.S. president to be robust, healthy, solid, bolstered, bulwarked. I mean, it needs to stand, right? It's absolutely critical that the role of U.S. presidency is valued by Democrats and by Republicans, right? And that no American is willing to see the role of U.S. presidency damaged, right? And so we want Andrew Yang to be the U.S. president, right? I want Andrew Yang to be the U.S. president. I know he will be U.S. president, right? But the reality is, we need him to restore the role, to repair the damage to the role that Donald Trump has done. And I'll tell you right now, that is the number one reason I want Trump out, is because I feel like he's doing massive damage to the role, right? Now, for 5 minutes while he talked to Conan the dog, Donald Trump actually, to me, served the model of what a president should do. So he's standing there, about his spouse is right there. They seem to be, on equal footing, and to have goodwill toward each other, which, and again, why should that matter? Well, it kind of does matter, right? We live in families. We still live in families, right? And so the idea, and again, this projects out to millennials, the idea of telling millennials that, hey, you can attempt to have love. You can attempt to have, to be married to a person the same way, I think all of the candidates the way every candidate except Cory Booker is married, and so it's still important, right? And saying, hey, if you want to have the highest role in the country, you can do that and still be a person who has a loving family and loves their family, right? And so for just 5 minutes, there was an appearance from Donald Trump that he had a functioning family, which I think is somewhat important, right? So Melania's there, Trump's there, Conan the dog is there, right? And it was an incredible press event. It was like what you would wish Donald Trump would do every time, right? That he would not damage the role for 5 minutes and actually function the way a president should function. It was nice, right? But there's a big conversation happening right now around Conan the dog and what he did in the Berisha raid. And specifically, he was injured, right? So if you're a soldier and you're injured, right, you get a Purple Heart. Well, Conan the dog, Conan the Belgian Malinois, does not get a Purple Heart. And the reason why is he is a military canine, right? Now, as a military canine, he is not qualified to get military honors. There's actually, I think it's a law, and at minimum, it's a policy, it's a procedure, it's a tradition that military canines are not given military honors, right? Now, this is an opportunity for Andrew Yang, right? One of the reasons why we are so dialed in on Andrew Yang is he has policies. He's not afraid to make tough decisions. This is a decision point right here, right? So one, I think that Andrew Yang should make his specific opinion known on this subject. I think it's a really, really important subject. So one, I think Andrew Yang should say yes, military canines should be awarded military honors, or no, military canines should not be awarded military honors, right? So one, I think he should declare it, right? Now, the reason why he should declare it is a couple reasons. One, when you have standard communicated policies, you are locking down what you believe to the American people, especially in the election. You are saying, hey, this is information you need to decide if you want me to be your president or not, right? For some people, this is a hugely important issue, right? I think for a lot of people, this is a hugely important issue, right? And so the other thing is Conan the dog. Boy, this dog has all the goodwill in the world, right? And so Andrew Yang wants to just get right up in there next to this Belgian Malinois and rub his face all over that goodwill, right? Like, because in reality is he's trying to get elected, right? And you need goodwill to get elected, right? So if he's connected to the dog, that helps him move forward, right? So this is a pop-in fresh subject, right? And I think it's really important that Andrew Yang get right on this, right, and talk about this important issue for Conan the dog, right? All right, so, and one of the reasons why is to gain momentum in the election. Use the dog to gain momentum and gain goodwill in the election, right? The talk, and this is important, right? You need your responses and your content, the things you're saying, and that's everything Andrew Yang is saying, is content to be fresh and relevant. And that's not easy to do, right? But a lot of people right now are learning about Conan the dog, and right now they care about Conan the dog. Sequencing is important, right? And so Andrew Yang should speak about this right now, right? Now, what should he say? What should Andrew Yang say about this important issue? Should military canines be awarded military honors, all right? Here's what I think Andrew Yang should say. He should say, no, military canines should not be awarded military honors, right? Now, why do I believe that, right? Why do I think that military canines should not be granted military honors, right? Well, humanity first, right? So, believe it or not, I think that humanity first is a brilliant, it's a super freighted slogan, right? It's our mantra, it's our mission statement, right? And I think it's incredibly effective. And one of the things about an effective mission statement is it has freight. It can be unpacked for all kinds of other issues to give guidance, right? And Andrew Yang's 100% right. Humanity first didn't just roll off the tongue. There's a lot of thought put into it, and it has very severe, very, very important meaning, right? And what is that meaning? Well, one, there should be a hierarchy of being for America, right? And I think humanity first is the first level of that, right? So Andrew Yang is right. Humans first over animals, right? And this is important. So I think there should be a hierarchy of being, and I think Andrew Yang should embrace this hierarchy of being. So what is the hierarchy? Humans first, humanity first, animals second, things last. That's it, right? And this is a big, big, big subject, right? Because humans and animals are starting to do the same thing. Humans and animals are starting to live in the same way. There are animals right now that live better than humans. No question about that. Like, trust and believe that is very, very true, right? And there are also starting to be things that are treated better than animals. And there are things that are treated better than humans, right? And we need to know the hierarchy, right? And Andrew Yang started going down this path with humanity first, right? So here's the thing, right? There are real human American soldiers, right? And when they are injured, the Purple Heart is given to them, right? And that is important, and that needs to be preserved for human beings, right? That should absolutely, the Purple Heart is too important, too prestigious to be given to an animal. It is only humans are worthy of being given a Purple Heart. It needs to be preserved for human beings, right? And then, and I think that's really important, right? And I'll make it super specific, right? The reason why I feel this way about the hierarchy of being is, one, when I'm talking, right, I'm almost always talking at the macro level, right? And the reason why is we're talking about politics, right? This is leadership at the national level and at the global level, right? Sure, exceptions are important. And that's why we have local government, right? But I'm talking about a national election which will determine the king or the queen of the world, period. That's what the presidency is, okay? So we're talking at the macro level, right? And when it comes to the macro level, one of the reasons why it's important that we focus on the macro level for these candidates, for the president, is the president makes macro level decisions, right? And so one of the things that's going to happen is when the president gets put in, there's going to be questions on, hey, we're about to lose a human being. But if we sacrifice 1,000 animals, if 1,000 animals are lost, we're going to have a situation where a single human is saved, right? Now, that's a really unusual situation, right? But when you have 330 million people, that situation comes up quick, like once a week, right? And then also there are going to be times where people are, where the president's going to be faced with a situation to say, hey, if we sacrifice 1,000 things, we can save one animal, right? And I actually think that's the right flow, right? I would not shed a tear if 1,000 animals were lost to save a single human being. I would not shed a single tear if 1,000 things were destroyed to save a single animal. There is a hierarchy of being. Humans first, humanity first, animals second, things last, right? It's important, right? And this is the type of philosophy, this is the type of thought pattern, this is this type of intellectual trending we need to determine, right, for at the level of the presidency, because these questions come up. These are not arcane, obscure, weird situations, right? When you have 330 million people, there's going to be a question on, should we value things over animals? Should we value animals over humans, right? Like, this is very real, and the stakes are incredibly important. And the other thing is, I get it, right? Exceptions are important, right? But the reality is, at the president's level, you don't deal with exceptions very often, right? You deal with what is good for the nation at the macro level. We do care about exceptions. That's why we have state governors. That's why we have local mayors, right? And those people can isolate and go down, and they can go to somebody's home if they need to, right? But the president can't. The president can't show up if there's a dogfighting ring in a particular city. It's just not, the mayor can, right? And he can have, he can bring the sheriff with him, right? But you deal with the macro at the presidential level. And I think this is really important. And so I think Andrew Yang should make the Hyperborean policy. Now, why are we calling it the Hyperborean policy? Hyperborea is one of the settings in Conan, right? And so I think he should call it the Hyperborean policy, put it right on his website and say, if I'm president, no military canines or any animal will ever be given awards that were originally created for human beings. And the reason why is our humanity first is real. We love animals. We want to be respectful to them. We want to be kind to them. But we will never elevate an animal over a human. It's not right. And accordingly as well, correspondingly as well, we will never elevate a thing over an animal. There is a hierarchy of being. Humans first, animals second, things last. Right? All that's my opinion. What do you think? Do you think the order's right? I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.